There we go. Hi everybody, my name is Lucas. I'm a front-end developer here in OKC and I work for a startup company, and I'm going to talk about Storybook. Do we have any other front-end devs here? One, a few back there. So if you've ever been working with component libraries, going back and forth between your local development or trying to target like a certain area while you're working through CSS or logic or whatever you're doing, can be kind of annoying and a pain point sometimes, and Storybook kind of created a solution for that. Storybook's just an open source workshop that allows you to create components in isolation, and then you can work on them isolated and nitpick and pick out what you want to do. One of the things this really helped me with when I was working with it was responsive design. I was able to take a singular component and then go through and change the responsive designs for any type of device and see what kind of issues I was running into either logically or with the way it looked. One of the things I really liked about Storybook is the add-ons that you're able to add on to it. One of the ones that I used for my team was called Chromatic. Chromatic allows you to incorporate Storybook into kind of like a GitHub workflow where you can assign designers, project managers, oversight teams, whatever you need. And when you have a task to do, like I'm going to make a margin change on my front page, you go and make that margin change, and then you push that up to Storybook, it pushes up to Chromatic. You can go on to GitHub will let your design team know like, hey, Lucas made a change on the front homepage. They can go on to Chromatic and look, and they can see how that affected the entire homepage, a singular change. So if it affected, something you didn't want it to affect, the design team can say, hey, that wasn't what I wanted, or hey, let's actually go from like 8 pixels to 6 pixels, and it just kind of brings the entire team together a little bit more quickly than having to send out emails or send out Slack messages or get in a call where you're like, hey, this is what I have, and then they're like jumped on and they're like kind of surprised, like, oh, like let me think about this, and then they have to get back to you in a couple days. This sort of tool just kind of streamlines that entire front-end development process from front-end developer to your design team to your project team. And I could go in super in depth because this is a 5-minute talk. I don't want to go too far. So is there any questions on Storybook?
How do you use it for documentation?
How to use it for documentation? That's actually a really good point. I built an entire markdown setup inside my stories for a project I worked on, and it was super helpful and useful for my designer. She was able to go through, read exactly what I did for states, state management, what exactly a specific piece of a component was doing, and you can do that just by doing your file name .stories.mdx, and then you can create markdown files inside. And what I did for structural organization was inside a specific folder, I had my component, my story, and then my markdown file. So everything lived in its nice own little house. And then when you launch Storybook, so if you're a designer, you'll have a link to the Storybook, and you'll go to it. They'll have all those files available. So if I go back, this project doesn't have those, but you'll see this under order notes default. Right there, you'd have markdown or other themes or other states that you want for that specific component.
Do you find yourself using it more at the component level or page level?
Both. Yeah, no, it's great on the page level. I'd show some more, but the project I have is a little bit NDA covered, so I can't show too much. But yeah, no, both. It's great for both. It's great for both because when you send up those pages to Chromatic allows the changes you've made on a singular component. Like say I put a border radius around something and then it affected several other components on a page. It'll actually highlight those for your design team or your project management team. So I'm like, I finished this up on Monday, and then Wednesday my project manager's like, hey, this isn't right, saw it on Chromatic, reviewed it, it's not looking right, we need to review that. So pages are really great for that as well. Anybody else? All right, thank you.